hopefully healing in the family. I think we've all been aware of a rift that has been there in the family, and I was delighted that the latest news has been that Prince Harry will be flying over to see him. And that so often happens in families. We've seen that when an illness strikes, any things that have happened in the past, any thoughts, any words, etc., those not disappear, but they take on a new significance, and we realise life is short for so many people. And it's not the time to hold grudges or hold words again. So hopefully, not only the treatment, but hopefully there might just be that healing within the family itself.
Yeah.
Gosh, I mean, it's obviously very worrying news for the King and the Queen and the royal family. And off the back of all the recent sort of health news we've had, it feels like quite a lot. But I think what's interesting is the amount, as you guys were just discussing, the amount of information that the palace have actually put out this evening. And actually, when you start to unpick some of it, I think the fact that the King is using language like wholly positive and hopeful about his treatment, and the fact that we've been told by the palace that councillors of state, the people that usually stand in for the monarch when they're unable to do their state business, will not be needed, is hopefully quite encouraging. We know that the King's going to continue with his affairs of state and audiences with Rishi Sunak and his red boxes. But look, there's no getting away from the fact that, just, sort of 17 months into his reign, the King is facing one almighty challenge with the rest of the royal family.
Well, indeed. I mean, stay with us if you can, Roya, because I want to welcome to Drive the King's Chaplain, who is the Very Reverend Dr Lorna Hood. Hello to you, Dr Hood.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you for making time to talk to us this evening, Dr Hood. Now, it's the King's Chaplain, one who who lives and works in close proximity to the King, and to that extent knows him on a personal level. I just wonder what your thoughts are, your feelings and reflections now.
Yeah, I'm now one of the extra chaplains to the King, because when you reach the age of 70, you step down. So I'm one of his extra chaplains. There are now 8 chaplains in Scotland and some extras. But we do have that, very privileged to have that closeness to the royal family, although probably most of us would have been had a closer connection to the Queen. But of course, we do meet with the King, and in fact, it was the King who presented me with my OBE. So it's just devastating news.
Yes.
And I heard the news as I was driving home from the airport, having just dropped a friend who had flown home from Spain to get his checkup for cancer, and then was flying back out to Spain at the Beatson. So, because it just touches all of us in so many different ways.
Indeed. So it does. I mean, the news comes as something of a shock, coming simply as it does so out of the blue. But there are hopes for a quick recovery, aren't there? The Buckingham Palace statement speaks about a return to full public duty as soon as possible, and says the King himself remains wholly positive about that. So I suppose one would take encouragement from that tone and those words. And as far as your own role and those of your fellow chaplains in the royal household, Dr Hood, I guess you'll have a role to play here too, will you not, in that sort of pastoral capacity?
Depends whether he's back up in Scotland or not, or down south. But the one thing we can do is pray for him and pray for the rest of the royal family at this time, and also support other people in our communities and congregations who will be hit by this, bringing back perhaps memories themselves of what happened to them or what happened to a loved one. So that there's lots of ramifications for this, because he is our King, this public figure. And I think we probably got into a kind of false sense, because the Queen was so well, up to her age. There was no sense of dementia or anything like that. So you get this impression that the royal family and our monarch will be well the whole time. And so therefore, having the King being diagnosed with this so soon, just so soon after he has taken up this role, a role which has been said he's been waiting for a great deal of his life.
Yes.
But I think it shows this humanity that's there in our monarchy. He's our King. He's a human being, and these things hit us, just as we've been saying that COVID didn't have any borders. So cancer hits all people at all sorts of situations in all sorts of ways.
Yes, and I guess the royalists among us, and there are many royalists among us, will hope that this helps to bring the institution of the monarchy and the king closer to the people of this country and those who call him their monarch.
Yeah, and also hopefully healing in the family. I think we've all been aware of a rift that has been there in the family, and I was delighted that the latest news has been that Prince Harry will be flying over to see him. And that so often happens in families. We've seen that when an illness strikes, any things that have happened in the past, any thoughts, any words, etc., those not disappear, but they take on a new significance, and we realise life is short for so many people, and it's not the time to hold grudges or hold words again. So hopefully, not only the treatment, but hopefully there might just be that healing within the family itself.
Yeah, so your hope, and I'm sure many people say, people of goodwill, is that good can come of this, because clearly one hopes that good can come of this. Really good to talk to you. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Lorna Hood, who's a chaplain to the King. Now, if you're just joining us, I'm going to repeat the statement that was released by Buckingham Palace just about 15 minutes ago, which told us the King has been diagnosed with cancer. The statement tells us, I'm quoting, during the King's recent hospital procedure for benign prostate enlargement, a separate issue of concern was noted. Subsequent diagnostic tests have identified a form of cancer. His Majesty has today commenced a schedule of regular treatments, during which time he's been advised by doctors to postpone public-facing duties. Throughout this period, His Majesty will continue to undertake state business and official paperwork as usual. And the statement from Buckingham Palace goes on, the King's grateful to his medical team for their swift intervention, which was made possible thanks to his recent hospital procedure. He remains wholly positive about his treatment and looks forward to returning to full public duty as soon as possible. And the statement concludes in this way. It says, His Majesty has chosen to share his diagnosis to prevent speculation and in the hope it may assist public understanding for all those around the world who are affected by cancer. That was the initial statement from Buckingham Palace about 50 minutes ago.